I just want to welcome everyone to the final edition of New Jack Swing Podcast for 2024. We got Mr. Stevie Street and Mr. Andrew Knight. How are you chaps doing?
Good evening.
Good evening.
The final Sunday of the year.
Final Sunday of the year.
And we actually have done 32 Sunday evening podcasts throughout the year. So
wow.
How many weeks in here? Is it 54 weeks? So we managed 32 weeks.
52, I think.
I didn't realize it was that many because we'd done that. Okay, wow, I think we probably did ramped it up.
I didn't count any of the interviews we did, just the specific podcasts. And yeah.
Wow. Okay. Well, before we get into, I'll start with you, Andrew. How was your Christmas?
Christmas was good. It was with family. I was in California with a girlfriend as well as my dad. Did like midnight mass at like 9 p.m., which is never a bad thing. But yeah, it's been good. Been good.
Okay. Wow. But you're based in Los Angeles, right? Is that
very close, Las Vegas?
Vegas. Okay.
But that can be changing as well. So life is a constant. The only constant is change, they say.
Gregory Heights Music, welcome. Stevie, how about you? How was your Christmas?
I've just enjoyed a good rest, much needed rest, recovered from the I don't know what I call it, the man flu, man cold, whatever it was, but I'm feeling a lot better now. And you always get that day, because I've not been to work this week at all. You always get that one day you're like, damn, what day is it? And I had that moment on Friday. I thought, what day? Oh, it's Friday. So I feel ready to go back to work next week, but I've got another week off, so I'll enjoy that as well.
Okay.
And how's yours been, sir?
I think mine it was an opportunity to rest, because I was really stressed out and busy from the final couple of months. I can tell that my screen is frozen, but I'll keep trooping on until it gets back on. But yes, you can still hear me, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I can see that my stuff is frozen. I'm not sure why, but I'll still keep talking while we go on. Okay, it's come back again. Yeah. So yeah, it was definitely. Maybe I should close this tab here. Maybe that's doing it. Yeah. So it was definitely something that I needed. Not waking up at 5:45 in the morning and stuff like that. So being refreshed and stuff. But yes. But it has been. And we're going to invite you guys who are watching to come on to share some of your highlights for the year. Anything that you wanted to say. We normally do this. Just around this time, just getting those who watch regularly just to come on and share some stuff. But for you, Andrew,
your top threes or your top five swing records, you can always do that as well.
Yeah. Andrew, what's been your highlight for 2024?
Oh my gosh. Honestly, I think you probably know the answer. As far as like 2024 goes, just like coming on this show and then having the three of us, Stevie, VJ, and myself, just kind of in the same room for the first time in, I think since 2007. Wow. That's been like a huge injection of like energy. And I will promise not to go monologue-ish, but I have to say something really quick. So something Ronnie DeVoe said about what they like to do when they go to perform is they've gotten so much energy from the fans all these years that they want to give it back. And I think that with like NJS Free, like we poured so much of ourselves into that. So then, and me personally, I poured a lot of myself into that, so much so that I was, just being honest, depleted. So when I came back on this show, all of a sudden, it's like all this energy is flowing back inside of me. And from this show, and I literally just like fixed the website. I fixed our LinkedIn. I'm actually turning the lights back on. Like the ship is at a dry dock, and it's all because of this show. So honestly, 2004, it was such a highlight, and I'm still holding back, guys. I really am. As I hold my heart, eyes, I talk. you have no idea. I'm getting goosebumps. You have no idea how grateful I am, and for you guys for like picking up the torch. And I know, Nandy, you've been doing this for what, 3-4 years now. Stevie, you just never stopped. Like, you're just a music guy, period. So that's been my highlight. Just this whole full circle moment. The last thing I'll say is I think everything is energy, and energy is everything. So it's like a full circle thing. So it's like we're all energy at the end of the day. But when you feel an energy, like whatever that energy is, trust it, believe it. And the energy that you guys bring to just the world with what you do and who you are is so positive. And that's been everything to me. So thank you for being you.
Wow.
No, definitely. I mean, it's been, it's been great, especially as Stevie mentioned. I mean, most of us who are music fans have really benefited from the blog and the website and stuff that you guys did back in the day. But I think for if when see Sheldon has been around and stuff, everything we've been doing is just to celebrate the culture, celebrate the music, and just have fun while doing it. Not taking ourselves seriously, and being able to have you and VJ come on board and share some of that love to the community has been really great.
Do you know what I miss, Andrew? I miss like the simplicity we had in a forum, because I find after being on social media for so long, I find it utterly draining now. I mean, I've logged back into my Instagram. I've not been on my Instagram for like 5 or 6 months. I took a break, and it just seems to be like one dopamine hit after the other, one scroll, and I'm like, I can manage this over the holidays while I'm off work, but I'll probably disappear again. But I just, when we used to talk on a forum about music, it's like when I log into Facebook, there's so much you're bombarded with when you on your homepage. It's like, I'm like, oh, this is just, I'd rather just have the simplicity of being able to just tap away, and it's all good. I mean, it's that's 2006. We're 2024 now. Podcasts, we're able to talk about it now online together, and other people can watch it. And I have enjoyed that over the last couple of years on here as well. And I kind of felt like you, Namdi, at the end of last year, I was drained from like working because I changed my job role and I got a lot more busy. I was doing 2 radio shows, two different types of radio shows, and I was doing this podcast. And I think you knew it was, so all that went by the wayside. I stopped doing my radio shows. I just thought, give myself a bit more time for myself. I've continued to enjoy this, and I have looked back to a lot of music that I've not looked back on for many years. I kind of checked out from new music, even though I still buy it and download it. I know what you're saying, Andrew. It's like I've looked back a bit, so I don't know what's going to happen in this forthcoming year, but I hope it's a better year anyway. I hope it's a better year. That's all I can say. Yeah. I think I've become more switched on to what's going on around me and what's going on in the UK, which hasn't been good this year. I'm not going to go into it, but I feel a lot more politically switched on. I wish it's funny when you look back at musical genres that keep coming back around. New Jack Swing never seems to come back around. It almost, it teases that it might, and then like Bruno Mars or something, and you get all excited. Same with K-pop at the moment. K-pop, there's all these K-pop groups using New Jack sounds, and you think, oh, could it come back? So I'm hoping we get a resurrection of it. We've been waiting for years and years. It's never quite happened. Could the K-pop, could the American artists think, hey, look what these K-pop artists are doing. They're doing something we was doing 30 years ago. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah. Well, for those who are just joining in, and I'll say this throughout, being our sort of year in review, what we'd always do is make it possible for you guys to come on one by one to say what's up or share stuff. If you want to talk about making music with AI and stuff, so I'm going to put in the link so that and so you guys can. So the link is in here. So if you want, no, hide it, no, show it. Yes. So I've put in the link in the chat. So all you just need to do is click on it, and I'll invite you in, and we'll do one at a time, and then you can just share anything. Tell us how you felt about any episodes of the show you enjoyed, anything about the music industry, anything about any shows that you've gone to see this year that you really enjoyed. Just anything, you can just bring that up.
I mean, it has been also a year of, and I think Cat Williams started this towards the end of last year with his interview on Shay Shay saying 2024 would be the year of big reveals. Well, he wasn't wrong, was he? We've been stunned. We've been absolutely stunned this year. Revelations. Like, my mouth has dropped consistently throughout the year. Like, what is going on?
Stevie, I gotta jump in for a second on that. So as I was like dusting off the website, right? So I have a thing on Barry Michael Cooper, right? And the second page, there's a picture of Barry and Diddy. You can best believe I switched out that picture. That's gone now. Like, you know, the article is the same, but I'm not like gonna put Diddy front and center on like the page. And then there's even a section where he talks about working with R. Kelly. And he does say R. Kelly is certifiably like not normal. Like he says that in an interview, but I even took off down his picture because it's crazy how like, and I'm not about censorship. I'm just about reading the room. And it's just crazy to me that these like legends and titans, especially Diddy, you know, would go from like, okay, this is a dude who like kind of brings New Jack Swing to the present because he never lost his relevance. He was always kind of bleeding edge in the culture. But now we don't really want to claim him anymore per se, just because like plus we have a baby oil stock. I'm joking, but anyway, like it's like you said, Stevie, it's nuts, and there's still more to come. Unfortunately, I think with these reveals.
Yeah. It's as I said. I mean, when it comes to the culture, I mean, you know, every artist you speak to, they will always talk about how he influenced the 90s, you know, whether it's with the remix, whether it's the videos, whether it's what, you know, whatever it was, he had that, he was a self-promoter and stuff. And yeah, it's definitely, it's a shame, the same with R. Kelly, that we are not able to keep celebrating the music and the stuff that they brought in without separating them. Because they were so much integrated with it, you know, and that's that hard balance. But yeah, Cat Williams started the year with an interview, and then ending the year with like, wow, it's mostly coming to pass. But no, last week we had Jackie McGee and producer Reese DeClaire, who, you know, for a while, Stevie has been with one eye open, like, well, I don't know about the music industry. There's no so dark side and stuff, you know. And then I think you were converted by the end when he was giving you nuggets about, you know, being in the industry and you know, if you want to move from level 1 to level 3, there is a price to pay, and for those who willing to pay the price, you know.
Well, there's a common denominator when you're into an artist. They always seem to say, "I didn't want to sell my soul," and I keep thinking, what do they mean? Because they're not revealing what they meant by this. So I just pushed a few more buttons and I says, "Come on, what are you talking about here? What's level 2 and what's level 3?" Because he said he reached level 1. If you missed it, Night, he told this amazing story. This producer that we had on last week. And he made a demo for Michael Jackson. And Tommy, I think his manager got a call from Tommy Mottola to go, because he was based in Atlanta. Or was it Washington? One or the other.
DC, yeah.
DC. So he ends up going from Washington, New York to go for a scheduled meeting with Tommy Mottola. And apparently he gets to the Sony offices in New York, goes from reception, taken through a back door and in this big room. Him and his manager were sat in this room, and they sat there for a good 10-15 minutes, and he notices like there's a camera in the corner watching him, and this goes on for like 35 minutes, and he's like, what's going on? He just don't understand why is there a camera watching us? And then some assistant comes in and goes, I'm really sorry, but Tommy's cancelled the meeting. And they never heard anything after that. So it was like they were watching him all that time. So he got to level 1. He got through the doors of Sony. He had a Michael Jackson demo in his hand. but they obviously thought he wasn't ready for level 2. So he was out the back door by the looks of it. Great, amazing, incredible story.
But also, if he had gone that close and he was desperate and he was said, whatever it takes, that's what they were doing. It was like, okay, let's see how hungry he really is. But it's it's definitely Steve, you saw the video I sent from Noriega.
Yes.
Okay, so he was saying that 3 different doors, and the straight, you're on your own, you do it on your own. You go left, it's the blood sacrifice type of stuff, and you go right, it's the sort of getting involved with with the LGBTQ plus community, and those are 3 doors to success. And if you go on your own, it's really hard. Pretty much you can't really pass through anything. And he just decided, I'm going to go on my own. And he says he never got another hit record. He never got big shows anymore, nothing. And I think it's been almost grinding that the drinks champs is, it's only now we're thinking about that over the last, 3 or 4 years and stuff. But, when he came out with, what was the stuff with Tammy and Pharrell? Super Thug, yeah. And even when it was the Comega, was it? He had a group. He was with
Capone and
Noriega, yeah. So it's pretty much he was just really saying it, and I think he was even nervous when They get nervous sharing this information because it can still shut doors, even the ones you have. It can still upset the apple cart. So they get nervous revealing this stuff because it's like, okay, I've got my little lane. I'm not going to join you, but if I share too much, you can mess things up for me. Yeah. So I'm gonna reshare it because I want people to be able to listen to and watch and stuff. But anyway, but on the good side though, what's been the biggest comeback story this 2024 musically?
Well, Usher started off the year quite well, didn't he? With a Super Bowl and a new album.
I don't think the album did as well as it could have been.
I didn't like. I'll be honest. I love Usher. I do, and I listened to the album, but nothing really grabbed me.
Really?
So no. I mean, it was solid. It was long, but nothing was like, oh my god, like this is going to be a monster hit. Yeah. But at the same time, like you don't need like a monster hit anymore. You're Usher. Like you are dang near 50 years old. You did the Super Bowl halftime show on roller skates, no lip syncing, and killed it. And now you're on this major like world tour. I think the US like just ended, and you're bringing up all these other artists. Like I talked about celebrating the culture versus leading the culture or following it. He's celebrating it. Like he's just like so excellent call, Stevie. I think Usher to have come out the gate in 92, to then done like under kind of like hip hop R&B in 94, then crossed over in 97. Like what? And now you're in 2024 and you're still like relevant enough to perform the Super Bowl and then pack out arenas like night after night. That's huge. So yeah, I just wanted to add to that.
Yeah, I think what he's doing with the celebrating the other artists is really propelling the show. After he's doing the cherries now, which giving female members of the audience cherries to eat or whatnot. But he's continuing what he did in his Vegas residency, which was celebrating the artists of the past. And so it means that everyone wants to show up and it's like, oh, okay, he's going to celebrate me. I'll do a few songs. It brings in more of the punters and makes him, once you celebrate your peers, they keep celebrating you. So it is something really unique, which, he's bringing them up and so everyone goes in there and he celebrates them no matter who they are. So that is something, makes him very relevant, and which is not easy to continue being relevant and celebrated.
I think one of my favorite ones I saw actually was when he was in, I want to say it was Houston, and it was Texas, and Al B. Sure, he actually goes, this is one of my day ones, right? And then he actually sings The Many Ways, like in the crowd, like in the set, and you see Al B just with his hat, tilted to the side, and like Al B's just like jamming. Usher like still knows the lyrics and everything, even that's like from his first album. Like man, that was beautiful. Like you're a real one to go way back to day one on that first album with The Many Ways.
Yeah,
So
well, that's it. That's it. I think that's his best album anyway.
Which his first album?
Yeah, that's my favorite. You know, I've gone through all his albums, and I know Confessions had the big hits and stuff. But I think if it's like start from start to finish, the first album was a proper '90s Uptown New Jack type of album, and it just had a mixture of amazing producers. The only issue was that he was just too young to sing the songs, and they couldn't really market the songs. But if you go back and listen to it now, it's like, wow, hit after hit. You know, you can hear Faith at the back. You can hear, stuff with Usher, with Al, Cal West, and Devante, Chucky Thompson. You know, he just had them all. Yeah, it was just an amazing album. Even Donnell doing Think of You and stuff. It's just an amazing album. It's just, as I said, it was unlike Brandy's album, which was probably one of the most age-appropriate produced albums for a young child. You know, I Want to Be Down, Best Friend, and Sit in My Room, and all. They just felt like the songs were written and produced right for her. I think Usher's was like maybe he was just too young for the songs.
Namdi, what did you think about Monica? Because I was actually playing with you for her, and then there's a song she goes like, "Slide the tape in, boy," and play that song, and I'm like, she was 14. What are you doing? You know, like I feel like even like that album, I love Miss Thang, if you remember that album, but I also felt like those songs, some of those songs were not age appropriate either, you know, but she sang her ass off. And then Let's Straighten It Out, Usher's on that track, and he sounds really good in that too. I just had to jump in there because you reminded me of the whole age appropriate young thing.
Yeah. I mean, Steve, you go back to Backstage, Underage, when we did the Poison album,
there's a lot of lyrics on that album. They're hard to like justify now, aren't they? They haven't aged very well at all.
The worst one is Lovely on Hootie Mac, if you remember that one.
Oh my god!
It was about 16 will get you 20. So call me when you get this many. It's like the whole song is Ricky lusting over this 16-year-old. I'm sad because she's only 16. Are you serious right now? I bet you they just all cringe. I bet you the next edition of the album, it's not even going to be there. It's just going to be like gone. No.
Well, I was showing some of my friends the Parents Just Don't Understand, and Will says, I was with a 14-year-old runaway. So the girl, he was saying she was fine, she was touching my lap, we were going fast, and then strange to find out that she was a 14-year-old runaway. And I'm thinking, what? When you're writing that, couldn't you not say she was 16 or 17, runaway, she's missing, instead of having to say she was 14? But you were looking at her in that way, and it's at the time you didn't even think anything of it because you're a kid listening to that. But now you're reflecting back on what's happening in the industry, and the fact that they know and they seem to target these younger girls and stuff. So anyway,
I was only 16. She was 25. Tony Thompson, who may have been, who knows? I mean, he seemed to kind of go a certain way. He was affiliated with a certain individual. You guys hopefully can smell what I'm cooking here. Like, I'm just saying, like, because he was, Tony was something else. He was amazing, and I think he should have had a bigger career than he did.
Yeah, Stevie, you were showing me that video from that guy talking about, Psycho. That was Simon Cowell's stuff. Okay, we got somebody who's braving up. Oh, let me see. It is Red coming on to say hello. Red, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. Sorry, I'm not putting my camera on. I look quite rough. I've just finished work not long ago. I'm sorry. But I am. Sorry, Namdi, I'll just have to say I am so proud of your channel and your guest. Thank you today for letting me on. You are happy that you're on the internet. That's all I've got to say. I've watched some of your interviews. I try to leave comments when I can. You're the highlight of the R&B community internationally and from the UK, and I've got to let you know. That's why I've come online. Simple. You know what I'm saying?
Oh man, I appreciate it. And Stevie and Andrew, we'll always say that, especially when we do this stuff, it's you guys who join in, and I'll tell you, when I started, I think, I just started back in, I think it was August of 2020. I had 5 subscribers, but I was still doing the work. And then there was people like Sheldon and stuff who would comment, and like, well, I like this and like that. That really just kept me going. And so, I always see you, Red, posting and stuff. And so every one of you guys, that's what really makes it, because then what I'm doing, or what we're doing, is really to make sure that we're sharing it. It's almost like you're going up, you get the bread, and you share it with those down below, and
Yeah.
that's how it feels like. So I really appreciate the
I
support
like
and stuff.
my signal's a bit funny, so I'm going to keep it
Yeah.
brief. And if I get a chance to reconnect in the future, hopefully I can.
No,
Your
yeah, go
interview
ahead.
skit technique, obviously you've got like skill set from your other job. Yeah, that is amazing. Your interview
Oh, we're losing him.
with Pamela Long from Total, Shade.
Oh, it's a
Oh.
shame he's gone.
He'll come
I
back.
didn't get the gist of what he was saying, though.
Yeah, but oh goodness, there are times that I'll be honest, like when I'm sitting in front of somebody, I'm thinking, I'm sure everyone will love to hear this. Or whether it's whoever it is. Yeah, Colin, don't forget to come on.
Yeah, come on
Whoever
and say hi, Colin.
Yeah, whoever it is. Okay, let me see who's come back. I think Red's back.
Red's coming back.
Yeah, he is.
Yes, so my signal's terrible.
Go ahead, Red.
I was just saying the Pamela Long and the Shades interview, to me, 2 standouts. You've done so many that I'd have to go through your channel and like
Shade. Wow. Oh, his signal's gone.
have gone through a lot, and you're able to let and tell you that like every interview is really good. Trust me.
Wow.
Oh. Did you get that?
Yes.
Yeah, every interview is good. Yeah, no, appreciate it, Red, and it's and Albie Shaw sent me a message a while back to thank me for not digging out shades, not the group shade, but not trying to look for the gossip and just staying positive. And that's what I've always tried and hoped to do. And here too, this is really to celebrate and not to to lift not just the music, but to raise the culture as well.
The culture and the people that are watching. We so get uplifted. I can't expect thing to explain. It's like a time of the past, but it's still current. These people are still living there, even if they're not in the charts. You still respect them, and you know your information. You know the songs. You know it, man. Do you know what I mean? You're not just like winging it. You know what you're doing. I love it. I'm gonna have to go back onto watching. I'm sure there's other people that are gonna want to talk to you, mate. But I'm gonna hang up and let you continue with the show. Yeah. God bless you all. Yeah. All right. Peace.
Thanks very much, Red.
All the best, sir.
You.
All the best. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that. Every Timmy, anyone, Colin? I know Colin says about to hit the stage, but I've put I put the link, so if you want to come on and share and chat just like Red just did, please do so. We'll get you on.
I think what he's saying there as well, and I feel that with some of the interviews, it's like when we get the artists on and we interview them, I kind of want to relive them moments when I first bought their albums, and I want to go back to that and talk to them about it. Like you said, we're not interested in the gossip. We want to know, like, what was you doing during that album and how did you make, it's just like, because that's all we ever saw. You just heard the album. You didn't know what was going on at the time with them and how they made it and what they were going through and why they made that sound. It's like, Yeah, a typical example would be that getting Dealer Vance on. That was so exciting for me because I know he was relatively unheard of, but he's just an artist that I've just carried for so many years. And to hear him come out with this, check this out now. He during the late 80s, he got a call. He said from, I don't know if it was from Gene or somebody, saying that they wanted him to be in Guy. And I've told you to go back to that interview and cut and like do that as a short and repost it because it's an amazing bit of history. He said, yeah, I got a call to be in Guy to come over from the West Coast to go over to New York because Timmy had left. And it'd be interesting to hear what if Damien or Teddy knew that, or Timmy. Yeah. Well, Timmy wouldn't know, would he? But I wonder if Timmy or Teddy knew that, because he did say he knew Teddy.
Yeah.
Fantastic revelation.
I mean, I think Carell Henderson. He filled a lot of backstories around Gene Griffin and what it was like, why he left. He had no hard feelings about things like that. So it's just hearing some of these guys share their stories and stuff. I mean, for you, so Andrew, I mean, did you have any have you? I don't know if there's any that you've watched that you really appreciated or.
Yeah, no, I mean, I would say there's so much for me to watch. But what I will say is I did watch some of the Carl Groove Martin interviews that you did with Shy, or of Shy rather.
Yeah.
And what I really appreciated, and I look forward to watching more, of course, is I think that when I talk about energy, there's like the kind of exploitive energy versus the I'm really seeking to understand and give you a platform energy. And I think that you definitely have more of the latter. Whereas I think if you're in this business and they keep saying it's a business, you are there basically to make everybody around you money. So in essence, you're being exploited. So I feel like a lot of these artists are probably very sensitive to that exploitational energy. So because you come with an energy that is genuine and celebratory, I think you get a lot more richer interviews. So that to me is why I look forward to watching. Frankly, I just being 100% real, like having kind of done something like this in the past, I'm like, are you cloning yourself? Like, how do you come up with all this volume of content? Like, where do you find the time to do all this plus your regular job? But the regular job, to what Red said, is playing such a key role into just creating the dynamic. I mean, even when I came on the show to talk with you, I just felt that like pensive, like deeply curious, and yet just it's a good vibration. I keep talking about energy. Like now you're gonna think, in addition to like Area 51, now you're gonna think I'm like a hippie or something. I'm still not. But anyway, there's a lot for me to watch. But I just feel like every time I see any clip, there's a sense of relaxation and almost relief that they finally get to tell their story to someone who actually cares. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and as I said, I don't want it to be about me history, but it's really celebrating the artists and stuff.
Yeah.
I really appreciate it. Colin says he went and saw SWB. So SWB.
Oh, Pretty Ricky. They're from the 2000s.
Yeah, it was. So Jodeci was supposed to headline the show in London and Europe, and then with TL, it was Tank, Tyrese, and TG, and was it Gil? Who's? No, Genuine.
Yes.
Yeah, so it was supposed to be Jodeci, Tank, and I think Pretty Ricky were on it with SWV. Jodeci had to pull out because of unforeseen circumstances, so they couldn't come to Europe. So Keith Sweat was drafted in. He took over the headline. And, okay, I'm Keith. I'm the main headline and stuff. He's been performing every weekend since lockdown, so he just got it naturally. But I'll be interested to see anyone who did go to see them at the O2.
Well, here we go, Nam. I've got a friend who he sent me a little review on WhatsApp. Okay. A friend went, Neil, I'm actually going to to see Big Bub with him.
Okay.
My friend near Big Bub on the 17th of January. Big Bub and H-Town. That's it.
Okay.
But he sent in a review because he went and he said Horace Brown came on first, did 3 tracks. He said it was good, but there was no effort with the visuals. He said that, honest review. He said then Case came on, did 3 songs, great voice. He said then Pretty Ricky came on. They were okay, but not great. Sang their own stuff. Next was SWV. They were amazing, and they did like a 45-minute set. He said next up was TGT with No Tank. He said good crowd, entertainers, sang most of their own stuff. And then Keith came on as amazing as ever. Did some LSG tracks. He brought on Flow Rider. The only 2 minutes of I Want Her though was performed. No Keep It Coming, but the visuals for SWV and Keith were brilliant. So that was his review, mini review of the gig.
So this is what Colin says. He says so much of a disorganized show in his eyes.
Wow.
Oh, it says no band with SWV. Yeah, I think. Yeah, I think there was. Yeah, and I think it depends on, you know, if you're going to a show like that and you haven't seen. So I'm sure, Andrew, if you had seen the show based on the fact that you've seen these guys perform in the States, you're like, you know, that you can expect more. And I guess because here in the UK, it's like, oh, we haven't seen Keith in 20 years. And like, oh, SWV. So you can probably be you just fan out seeing them. But then when you just take a moment back and think about the quality of what they're doing, because I saw R&B Experience over Easter. So they had Blackstreet, Drew Hill, Donnell Jones, and Music Soul Child. They had the what's the guy's name? I can't remember. The guy who tried to sing the Jacquees. Yeah, Jacquees. 702. Yeah, King of R&B. 702. Changing Faces and five. No, what was his name? Tony Thompson's from a group.
Oh, High Five.
High Five. Yeah. So they all came. They all came and performed at Wembley Arena, and the only group that brought a band was Drew Hill, and everyone else was backing tracks, and I just said, yeah, I just stopped halfway through, and when Blackstreet finished performing, I went backstage and just hung out because I think I saw a little bit of Music Soul Child, but I was like, this didn't. It just felt like karaoke. It didn't feel as if. I'm like, I want a band. I want the experience. I just don't want you playing a track and then singing. That's what hip hop used to do. Yeah. And now hip hop doesn't even do that. Hip hop does, you know, they you know. So I don't get fazed by, oh, these people are showing up, I'm just going to go watch them, because if you're not going to entertain as if your career is dependent on it, then no. So I left. I mean, I was watching it and I was texting. I think I texted you, Steve. I said that this was boring for me, you know, because it was just singing their songs. This is karaoke. I could go and watch karaoke anywhere else and stuff. And so it's hard for me to appreciate that. And I know others would say, oh, but we haven't seen them in a long time, and vocally they're still great. And I'm saying, yes, but, you know, they can just, I don't want to give us a subpar show here in the UK. So Red says that it was an expensive ticket too. Colin says he left midway through the Keith Sweat set as his voice kills me. Yeah, so, yeah.
At least Janet Jackson didn't let anybody down. With their world tour this year.
Okay, but you didn't go for that. Did you? Have you seen that?
Janet? I do regret not, because you know, looking at the YouTube clips, it looked an amazing gig. You know, she did about nearly 50 songs over 3 hours.
So this New Year's Eve, Janet actually is doing her residency here in Vegas. So I decided, me and the girlfriend, we're going to go see Janet on the 31st. That's how we're going to spend New Year's Eve.
Have you already got the tickets, or are you just hoping to do it?
Oh no, we bought the tickets. They weren't cheap. But you know what? Like, how often do you get a chance to like say, I went and saw Janet Jackson on New Year's Eve? Like, I was like, don't pass that up. Like, that's an opportunity. I've seen her 3 times. It was first of all, anyone who saw Rhythm Nation, I hate you. I'm joking mostly, but I didn't see Rhythm Nation. But
I did.
I hate you. No, but she. So, but I saw the Janet tour. Then I saw the Together Again tour. I want to say it was 2018. I think no, not 2018. It was the State of the World tour, 2018. Then I saw her again recently in Chicago, and then this will be my 4th time. Does she lip sync? I think she does, but I think that she puts on a good show anyway. And I love that she's integrating songs like Lonely, like it's a snippet, but still, she does Lonely. She does Funny How Time Flies. Like her concerts now feel like a celebration of the catalog. And I think that to me is really good. You said 50 songs in like 2 hours. Like it's crazy.
3 hours it was, a 3-hour set.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. I mean, I think, I mean, my biggest regret, not regret, because, you know, when I was moved to the States in the 90s, Michael stopped touring in the States. And then he was touring in Europe. I moved to Europe in the 2000s. And then, you know, he just stopped doing shows. And then he's This Is It tour. I bought my tickets and sadly passed. So that's my biggest thing, that I never got to see him perform. I'd probably, but I've seen New Edition, and that was the Home Again tour. I would definitely. Oh, did you ever see them in there?
First of all, which Home Again? Did you see the first leg or the second leg?
No, I saw the first leg. I was in Milwaukee. It was
Wisconsin
when they came. So it was 702 opening up. Keith Sweat was supposed to do. It was supposed to be 702. It was Keith Sweat. It was Blackstreet. You had all 6 of them. New Edition. Keith was not well, so he didn't show up. So 702 opens up. Now, mind you, I'm massive Teddy fan. Okay. And so I'm seeing Blackstreet and Teddy for the first time, and you know, the 45 minutes they're doing that. They had a massive set. They do the Billie Jean No Diggy remix for the. I'm watching that. My head's blowing up, and I'm like, oh man, this is amazing. I can go home now. Then New Edition show up, and you know, you had all 6 of them do their stuff. Then you had them individually do their stuff, and then they come. I said, you guys didn't need an opening act. You just didn't need you could have just done the whole set yourself, you know, just to see Bobby doing his thing, and then BBD doing their thing, and Ralph and Johnny. Then they come back again, and oh goodness, it was, yeah. So to see those 2, I even forget the 702 open up, because it was like, come on, because they had just come out in '96 and they were part of Biff 10, so that's why he got them on. But I didn't even care that Keith wasn't there. But yeah, so I was fortunate to see before Bobby didn't show up further down the road. But it was that was awesome stuff. Yes.
You know what? Going back to our Michael Jackson podcast we did, like, was it a few weeks ago or last month? I can't remember. But you can Google this. There's an article come out on the Far Out magazine, faroutmagazine.co.uk, and the title was "Previously Lost Michael Jackson Recordings Discovered by Accident in an Abandoned Storage Unit from like 1989 to 1991. These are the recordings, and a lot of them are tapes of stuff he did with Brian Loren, which some of it has leaked over the years. Some of it, there's a track he did with LL Cool J that you may have heard, but there's a whole bunch of tapes here. And apparently Jackson's estate's saying they'll never come out. So they're going to have to do something with these tapes, aren't they? They just can't leave them unheard. You can obviously Google it and read the article for yourself, but he's saying that there's 12 tracks on the tapes. So that's an album of material. Yeah. And also on the tapes, you can hear him talking. There's a lot of the studio sessions where you can hear him talking. I mean, if they could, get them tapes and remaster them, the collectors are going to buy. They're going to buy those tapes. They want to hear them. Yeah. That's an opportunity. But it's like having a pot of honey, innit? Someone puts a pot of honey in front of you, lets you take a dip, you taste it, and you go for more, and he takes the pot away. He's like, gone. You're like, oh no. But interesting article anyway. That was literally when we'd done our podcast. that slipped out as well as the passing of Quincy Jones. So that was a very timely podcast that I thought that we did.
It was.
Yeah, I mean, the question who was it? I can't remember. Yeah, that I asked Carl Martin, if Quincy did not do Thriller, would he be as revered as a producer if he hadn't worked with Michael? So Off the Wall, Thriller, Bad, you know, would we be?
It's a lot of ifs. There's a big if that, Namdi.
No. But just think about it. I mean, if outside of the Michael Jackson stuff, what else are we really saying about him as a producer? I mean, he did his own stuff, Frank Sinatra, but
Yes.
in general pop culture, when the generation of us who revere Quincy, you know, if he didn't do that, you know, do we celebrate?
It depends which era you're looking at, because you could bring up what he did with the Brothers Johnson, which was in the late 70s, earlier. That was incredible stuff. You could bring up what he did with Patty Austin again, that early 80s, like yacht rock, yacht soul period. It's just, again, it's timeless stuff.
Yeah, but with his name, I mean, they are great producers. Gamble and Huff and all that stuff.
With James Ingram.
But I'm talking about, he's known as one of the greatest producers ever. I'm saying it's not, because there have been great producers who work with these artists and work with many artists that are not on the tips of our tongues. But if you take away the Michael Jackson catalogs from his repertoire, would he still be as revered as one of the greatest ever producers in public opinion? Maybe within the industry, those who are really music connoisseurs who know the work and stuff like that, who can celebrate.
So you're only saying that what he did was with Michael Jackson made him great because it blew up.
He produced the biggest selling album in the world.
So let's take that out of the equation then. If he didn't do that, he's not great.
Hey, would he be as revered as any? He would just be like any other
producer.
Right,
he'd be revered in black music circles. He'd still be great. Yeah. Maybe not in pop mainstream, but in black music circles, he would be known as a great producer. Yeah, easily.
And also, I would say almost like old school, because the thing is, right? Like, yeah, Jam and Lewis and Babyface never had a Michael per se. Now Janet is approaching it, but it's like, I feel like here's the proof for me. Apparently, Michael, from what I understand, was supposed to do the opening line on Secret Garden that Al B. Shore went ahead and did. And I feel like had Michael done that part instead, I think the Secret Garden would have been a much bigger hit. Personally, it's a classic, but I think that Michael Quincy combo was it was something else. It was transcendent. So no, I think that, and the only reason why I think anybody from my generation knows who Quincy is I think because of Michael. I remember when I was talking about Quincy with my dad, and he's like, he did Frank Sinatra, he's classically trained. Like, he was like looking at me like I had like 3 eyes or something. And I was a kid, and there was no internet back then, so I didn't know. So, but yeah, I think that, Quincy's he's on another level precisely because of those albums. And I think that's okay. But when you look at everything else that he did, whether it's Back in the Block, great album, or Juke Joint, I feel like they're cool. Even We Are the World, he produced that song. But I think Michael and Lionel are the ones who kind of really made that song extra special, because I think they wrote it. And then Michael just singing that hook, the first one, was just, again, transcendent. So he's amazing. Don't get me wrong, he's amazing. He's great. But would he be as celebrated? I think absolutely not. That's just my personal opinion.
Yeah. And as I said, all the stuff that he has done, great songs. But the fact that you produced those 3 albums with Mike, which were at Mike's height, I think that's what made his name more.
Have you ever heard the Dude album, Namdi? Quincy Jones's Dude album?
No.
Well, go back and YouTube that next week. Have a listen to that album.
I'm not saying he's not a great
revelation. That album would be a revelation for you.
Musically, he's a great. He produced Off the Wall and Thriller, and he was really, really particular about how he produced. So he's a great producer, but main, but would we celebrate, this Mewtwo, Kashif, they probably had big hits as well, but what Jam and Lewis had, I think we celebrate them more. They got really mainstream celebration with a lot of the stuff they brought with Janet. You think about LA and Babyface, when they had that run with those albums, but the Boys to Men stuff took them to, with those #1 hits and stuff like that. So, so you can see how particular artists really make a particular producer just say, okay, yes, we're taking them to another level. We did our favorite producers a while back, and I put Quincy Jones at #1 because I thought, well, he's done the biggest album in the world and stuff. And I reflect and thought, well, actually, how much of that was the fact that it was Michael, and then how much it was him. Could have been the two of them, but without those albums, a generation would have not known him the same way. Then that's what I just think. Just a generation would not have known him as big as he is.
I love what David said. What up, Dave? He said, would Michael have been as big if he didn't have Quincy producing him? And I would say no. I think it was alchemy. I think that, it was like the Triumph album is like what Michael was without Quincy. It's great, trust me, but it's not that mainstream crossover, beat it. There would be no Human Nature. Like, no, absolutely not. Yeah, I'll just keep it short. That's my answer.
No, you don't have to keep it short, but you're right, because I think we saw what Michael was outside of Quincy. He took too much control, and he was chasing the sound, whereas Quincy was able to keep him
There's other factors as well that made that Thriller album as big as it was, and Quincy, Michael, but you got to throw Rod Temperton in there. You got to throw, is it Jeff Beccaro from Toto? They had a whole backing team that just came up with magic on that album. Rob
Temperton was like the orchestrator. He's the one who brought everyone together.
Yeah.
And when you watch that, I forget. There's a Netflix documentary on the making of We Are the World. It is well. If you haven't seen it, guys, I'm telling you.
We've seen that. We have seen it.
Okay. So watching Quincy go, I'm sorry, not to say anyone's using drugs. I'm like, I don't know how you did it without Coke. Sorry. Like, you could not say that focus all night. Anyways, sorry. I'm not starting rumors. But, I think that you need, like, he was a producer in the sense of, like, not just the music, but just the whole production, like bringing all the right elements together, and corralling it. So having a Temperton, having a Porcaro, like, just having that kind of vision to say, this is what we got to put to make this album special. I want to give him credit for that. So yeah, Stevie, you're right. It takes a village. I mean, Greg Phillinganes. I mean, there's so many people involved. James Ingram on the background vocals. Like, so anyway, I think we're defending Quincy Jones's honor for sure. And I love that you dropped The Dude, because I think The Dude is definitely, the standalone album that's probably the most celebrated by Quincy. Again, just those, I think it's possible to have two people be dope on their own, but then be better together, and I think that this is a situation where that fits that criteria, in my opinion. Again.
Yeah. You think of Control and Janet, because what did she do prior to Jam and Lewis coming on the Control album? And actually, I still love that Control album. I think that's probably one of her best album. When I think one of the I can listen to from start to finish and still go back to. So they're producers that could then know how to get the best out of artists. But I always used to think that actually, would I, as a regular person, would have celebrated Quincy if he hadn't worked on with Michael. But that's just here and there because of the magic they created together and stuff. Guys, you still have the opportunity to join us. We had Red join us. Colin said he was going on stage, but Michael Jackson.
If you want to come and join us, say anything, give us your New Jack top 5, or say anything you want to say, as long as you keep it clean.
Hop
on, say hello.
Yeah, I mean, For 2025 though, so Stevie's planning to go see Big Bub and H Town in January. Andrew, any particular shows you're looking forward to in the new year?
Yeah, I haven't really seen them come up yet. So if it's a show that I can't miss, I won't miss for sure. I mean, that's one of the reasons why I moved here in the first place. But there is one show, actually. It's not New Jack, but the Isley brothers. I think it's Ron and I think Ernie.
He's still alive. Goodness, he must be in the 90s or so.
You're hilarious. First of all, the reason that's why I even go see these shows. Like because I don't know if I told the story yet, but I had a chance to see James Brown. I want to say in 2005 or 2006, something around that time. And I'm like, oh, I'll see him next year. Yeah, of course. So after that, George Michael came to Chicago. I said, this is the last time that he's not coming back to the States. Like, he's not. So I went and saw him, even though like I like him, I don't like him like that, but I still like him, right? So I went and saw it. So glad I did, because we saw what happened in 2016. A couple other like acts I've seen, but that's my rule. If you're like, even Phil Collins, like he came to New York, and even though I'm more of a Phil Collins solo guy, you know, with some of the Invisible Touch hits, when Genesis went on tour, the last Domino, I think it's called, it was all Genesis stuff, none of his solo stuff. But I didn't care. I was like, okay, he's on his last leg, so I'm going to see him. And the Isleys, same thing. It's like, dude, you guys did Twist and Shout before the Beatles. Hence, is he still alive, right? So I want to see this guy before it's too late, you know? So I think that's in March or April of this year.
Okay. You know, but it makes sense though, because because as I said, I never got a chance to see Michael, and I would have loved to have seen him. And
it is one for us potentially in April. One date, the Scala in London, Eternal are performing. Eternal, they're back.
Stay. That's it. That's all I know by them.
Stay, right? Yeah.
Great memories of that group. You know, I think they've reformed with 2 new members, one of the sisters, but it's just great to see him back. You know,
but it must be a UK, because I was in the States when they came out. But the only thing I remembered was when the Teddy did the remix, and that was the one I was played on the radio and on BET, and I was like, oh, who are these girls? But unfortunately, that was the only real track that really hit in America, because as I said, from America,
the biggest hit they had was with BB Winans, and it went to number 1.
Okay, yeah, but that didn't blow up in the States the same way as it did out in the UK, though. That's the thing. And I was, yeah. I mean, do you remember them, Andrew, back in the day?
Just Stay, and that was like 94. That was it, you know. So
that was it.
They were big in the UK. They were regularly on top of the pops in the 90s.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Is the
Power of a Woman? Do you not remember the Power of a Woman, Namdi?
What you talking about, Kelly Price?
Another big hit.
Oh, you know, no, they didn't really blow up in the apart from Stay, and that was they really pushed that single and it was the Teddy remix that they really pushed.
There was no point in pushing. It's very hard to push a UK R&B girl group in the UK in the 90s to America, because America's full of them. So the priority really was to make them big in the UK and over Europe, I think. And, you know, anything else in the US, that was a bonus, especially when you got SWV and Jade blowing up at the same time over there in the same year. And then Vogue, you know, it's going to be tough.
You know, it's funny.
They would have had to stay a whole year in the US touring to just break through.
I feel like it was a trip in the 90s how, heck, even when I came to the UK for the first time in 2006 and 2007, one of the first things I like to do is turn on the radio and hear how it's different. And there were so many songs that I heard that was like, I've never heard this. And it was almost a shame, because living in Canada, I actually got a lot more like global music. And then I got to the US, and all of a sudden it's just this bubble. It's just like our music and nothing else breaks through. And I think that's a shame, because even like Damage, I remember seeing the Damage CD like in a record store somewhere. I'm like, who the hell are these guys? Like in my head, right? So I remember I didn't buy it. I was just like, this is a weird looking album. Why are they like in gold pillars, whatever, right? But then a friend of mine had it. So then I listened to it, and And I even heard Little C's on there from like Junior Mafia on one of the songs. And I was like, this is actually a good album. Like it came out, I think it was like 96 or 97. And then like it was 2000 when I heard it. But I guess I'm taking this opportunity to ask you because I liked Damage and I think they should have had a lot more exposure in the US, but I have no idea how they were received in the UK. All I know is I think one of them married Emma Button from the Spice Girls, so he must have been somewhat decent. Were they a big group? Did they do well? What are your thoughts on Damage?
They were the issue with Damage was, and they go back to this. They had a constant fight with the label because they wanted to be more R&B sounding. They were R&B sounding, but it was more towards pop here as well. And they felt. I think the first album did well for him, and the second after that, it kind of split. And you'd have to. The story's on YouTube, so go. It's on YouTube, but they wanted to sound more like like a proper Jodeci or a Shy, and it didn't quite happen for him that way. But I rated him. They were a bunch of good singers. Ghetto Romance was quite big.
Well, this is So what Red is saying, they struggled on the promotional tour in America. And how Lewis didn't like the R&B radio show host, and Esther struggled with the other. I think he's talking about Eternal. No, I think what happens, Andrew, is that artists get signed to labels and they don't understand the music business part. They know the music industry and the music, and they want to put out music that they feel speaks to them. But they forget it. If it doesn't make money, then we're spending money on you. And so, if Damage were doing really good R&B stuff, the UK market is quite small for that. And it's not like now where, I think after hip hop came, where our hip hop and black music became more pop because made more widely accepted, like grime is and stuff like that now. But back then it was pretty much, you had take that. Was it take that? They had Boyzone. You had all these sort of white group boy bands that was selling and making money. And then how do you compete on the radio, on TV with that market unless you try and sound like that in some ways? And they didn't want to do that. And then they could have the States and try to see if we can do something unique over there, but they're going after the same producers, trying to break those same radio stations, and you're British, you're not offering anything extra. So it was quite a hard thing for them to really do, because I didn't know about them. I didn't really know about them when I was out in the States. Yeah. I think Ghetto Romance had this moment on the radio, but to follow it up, who are they going to compete with? Blackstreet, Jodeci. We had so many guys out there that it was hard to find a way for them. So, yeah. D-Hawk, are you going to come on? We're just waiting for anyone to come on just to give us some to reflect on the year, on your music and all that stuff. But yeah, I guess Craig David was one person that you could say that he didn't. He took the garage, and he had the image. He had this style. And I remember when he came to the US with that. Is it 7 Days, or what's the name of the album?
That's it.
He was doing a lot of live performances. He had the guy playing the guitar, and he was singing, and so it was really impressive to see him perform. So that's why the album blew up in the States, was that he could say, look, I can sing this stuff. I've got my guitar player. I can on the spot sing, rap, and do the whole stuff. And the album and the songs were melodic and easy to follow and stuff.
It's funny. This is all related, actually. So one thing I remember about the UK market, or the European market in general, was I know that Lou Pearlman, he's the guy who put together like NSYNC and all them. Yeah. He would use the UK to basically be like, okay, I'm gonna like make you guys like hone your chops over there, make all your mistakes, behind the curtain, like just do it in Germany or whatever. And then when you're ready, we'll bring you to the States, and that's why when both Backstreet and
Boys.
came on, like they were already polished and ready to go and kick butt because they made all their mistakes or whatever. They grinded in Europe first. But then number two, what I thought was really interesting was 2000. I think it's all coincides with the internet, right? In 2000, that's when music started getting global. You had Craig David crossing over to the States. And I remember two-step was like this big like fad that all of a sudden the pop artists were chasing. So Craig David, I think it was that into select three. Yeah. And then MJ Cole was doing his thing. So NSYNC actually on the last album, they actually went all the way two-step. They actually even name-checked the genre. And I think it's funny because it's like a genre that I think people thought was going to blow up. And maybe it did in the UK, but I know in the States it was like, okay, and then nothing. It was like the Lambada back in '89. I'm dating myself, but everyone thought the Lambada was going to be this huge thing, and then it just went away. So anyhow, I love how global things have gotten, and even with the internet, I just said it, we have not one, not two, not three, but four people with AMC Hawk joining in, thanks to technology.
So it used to be D-Hawk, and I remember him back when back from 2000. So he's been down for a while. How you been, man? Oh, I think we can't hear you. Is it you muted? Let me see.
I hear music.
Can you hear us, volume? Yeah, there's no sound. Can you talk, D-Hawk? I think we're getting you.
Better?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
All right. What's going on, fellas? How y'all?
Yeah. How have you been, man?
All right.
Okay.
I just jumped in the conversation, so I just saw that y'all were live, so I'm just jumping in.
Yeah, we've been opening up, because as I said, you've been around for a while now, so yeah. Just any reflections, anything you want to share and stuff?
Oh no, I just when it comes to the music, I guess I'm just one of those people that's affected by chords. If that makes, I don't know if that's a thing, but I'm like really affected by the different like just chords. And one of the things I noticed about today's music as opposed to especially music back then, like the 90s or whatever, is the difference in the melodies that they use. The melodies don't have any melodies. It don't seem like they don't have any melodies that stick. You know what I mean? I know y'all talking about a few. I don't know how long ago it was. Y'all talking about Janet Jackson's Rhythm Nation album, and I know that "Lonely" was not on the top of anybody's list except for one. I think one person had it like up there, maybe like number 3 or something. But
I did number 2.
Again?
I did number 2. Might have been in fact, it might have been number 1. It's either number 1 or 2.
So, I mean, somebody has some sense on this list. So, but I remember a couple of years ago, I hadn't listened to that song in a while, and then I heard a snippet of the instrumental. Jam and there was an interview with Jam and Lewis, and they were playing it in the background. And I was like, what is that? It's like I had never heard it before. It just struck a chord, and so I went and found it. It's like, oh, I remember that, and I don't know. I fell in love with the instrumental all over. So never mind the words, just how they played the keys and whatever. And it was like it just struck a chord with me. And it's like that happens a lot, especially with New Jack Swing, because Teddy was killing the keys. You know what I mean? And so with his influence on everybody else, when they bring the key, like Joy, you think of a song like Joy, take the lyrics out of Joy and just play the instrument. Just get in the car and just play the instrument. If that don't ease your mind, if that don't put you in another place, I don't know what to tell you. So I don't know what it is that y'all were talking about. But when I do think about New Jack Swing the R&B of yesterday. Listen to that. Listen to that, man. They're gonna sample that. They're gonna sample that because they sampling us now. They sampling the sound today. So it's like they're gonna sample that. Somebody gonna make that a hit. Hopefully they ain't talking about booty shaking and whatever the case may be. But we'll see how that plays out.
Yeah, I think it was an art form when it came to the melodies. But songs had time. They had time with songs. I mean, now the average song is what 2.5 minutes. So it's get the message out and off to the next. And the Rhythm Nation album. I think I just I just didn't enjoy the album at all. Compared to Control and stuff. So that's probably why my biases with that. But Lonely does sound like the early stages of sensitivity kind of stuff. The stuff in the But yeah, the said Hawk. I mean, it used to be D Hawk. You've now gone to AMC Hawk. Is that changed now?
It's a man called Hawk. It's a man called Hawk. I got some things going on, so I had to get professional.
I think I remember when I used to start. I remember I used to say, okay, I'm about to interview a guest, any questions and stuff, and then we'll get some questions in. And I think you asked a question to invoke Don Robinson.
It wasn't a phone number, was it?
No. And I remember saying, so D-Hawk had this question about this, and he said, damn, I remember your comment was many actually. Yeah. But that was this was back in that was 4 years ago stuff. Yeah. So yeah. But I know you comment on the daily polls more so than the videos.
Some of those are hella difficult to answer, brother. Some of those are hella difficult to answer. Yeah, one I forgot the list. It was 3 of them. It was impossible almost to pick one. They were all from the same year. And it's like from the summer, and it's like the summer of '96, I think it was. And it's just like, that is impossible, brother. I was a freshman in Norfolk State University. Come on, man. All those joints were hidden at that time, man. They all mean something different.
So for those who don't know, I don't do it every day. I do. I take a week, and I would put down. Every day I get from like now I think I'm 97, and I'll get 3 songs and say, what's your favorite? And the trick is to really make sure that the songs are, you may get a Mary against Jodeci with maybe TLC, so that's a nice balance because you don't want any runaway hits and stuff. And so it's stuff just to keep, the people who just come for the polls and others who come for the interviews. But I had to officially retire Can You Stand the Rain? I had to tell Jimmy Jam that I'm not going to put that because it was winning any poll I put it in. I said to Jimmy, and he laughed about it. I said, I can't put this on anymore because if it came on, it just knocks everyone out there and stuff.
You got to include some remixes, man. You never annotate the remix. Some of those songs you put up, if you put the remix up, it's over. It's a wrap. I'm telling you, and you know it. You know this. The 90s was the era of the remix. You got to put the remix up.
I never knew why R. Kelly's he did the remix of what was his big on 12 play, Bump and Grind. Yeah. It was the remix that blew up. That really. So the sound came out, but when the remix came on, that was the shift. That the album blew up, and he became took him to another level. And they didn't do the video for the remix, but that was just the one on the radio back then. I was in Alabama when that came out, and it just blew up.
it extended the shelf life of the song, because that I don't see nothing wrong.
Yeah.
Not like it was just like it just dominated, like, you know, because it came out a little after the video one, the album one. But you're right, it was, and what you just said about the era of the remix, like for me, I would actually almost say like late 80s through like the mid to late 90s was really the remix era. And it's like, so yeah, I mean, they're, to me, almost two different songs, really, and I think that's okay. If there's abundance, there's just more to enjoy. And I thought you were going to say the "At Your Best" remix with Aaliyah. I love that one too, and that was summer of '94.
Yeah.
So I love how you're talking about
Favorite song in the world.
Right? Like, I love how you're talking about seasons, because I also associate songs with the season. Like, oh yeah, spring of '90 was like All Right with Janet Jackson, right? Or things like that. Or summer of '90 was like Come Back to Me, and things like that. So man, like I love that. And I love that you talk about the chords and everything too, because even like Jodeci, as far as like Stay with Devontae, like I feel like music today now is more about just like accompanying whatever you're doing. It's almost like I don't want to say, well, here's what I'll say. So, for example, like I know that kind of like there's like a genre of music that's really slowed down, and apparently it's like if you're on codeine, like then it just sounds good to you. I think I know what you're talking about. Like that, like it's more about just marinating whatever your mind state is, right? Like numbing in a way. But I think before, the music itself was creating the mood versus your music matching whatever mood you're in, if that makes sense. But melody and chords.
Thematic.
You're among family, man.
Yeah.
It sounded thematic, if that makes sense. Like you saying Devontae when he brings those keys. Come on,
it's like
now.
It's churchy but epic. It's like epic church. It's like secular church. You know? Yeah, man. Yeah, I was talking about the opening of Diary, man.
But if we're just thinking a year in the 90s that probably had one of the biggest albums. So 94, we had Brandy's debut album, we had Blackstreet, we had Boyz II Men's 2, we had My Life, we had Aaliyah, we had Janae, we had Crazy Sexy Cool, Changing Faces, Keep Sweat, Get Up on It. We had Anita Baker's Rhythm of Love, Shanice, the Whitehead Brothers. And this was Elder Barge, Heart and Soul. This was just a few, and Usher's debut album. Yeah, so this was just a few of the big Outkast debut album.
Yep.
It was. You think about a year that just had all that, and this is just a handful of ones I've picked out. I'm not even talking about that hip hop stuff. This was just to get to a point where we are now, that we just get a handful of stuff that aren't celebrated 5-6 years down the road, 10 years, 20 years down, because all these albums I've called, we can bring it out now and it'll still be celebrated. You can still remember where you were. I still remember when I was in college when the My Life album came out, and I remember working at a factory and then listening to If You Look at My Life, You See What I Can. If I had the song, I can go back to, doing that part-time job. I can still remember the radio blasting, and I can still remember the feelings of it. And it's just amazing that I'm sad that I don't think anything that's come out in the last 5 years or 10 years have really taken me back, that I can remember and connect those feelings and stuff. So that's it's a pity. The 90s, yes, definitely. But Hawk, definitely, it was great having you. Just great that you've been supporting from day one, and as I said, I always appreciate. Are you interacting now? Yeah, go ahead.
2 questions. One, based on what y'all just said, do y'all think the difference in recording process has anything to do with, I guess, the feeling of music? Because back in the day, of course, you know what I'm saying? Well, I guess versus today, anybody with a computer can go in here and make a song, throw it on Spotify, become a millionaire, whatever, do whatever. Back in the day, you had to take more painstaking methods of making music. You had your tape reels and things of that nature. You had to actually take your time to do things. Do y'all think that has a play in
Massive difference.
How that plays? And then my second question is, did y'all hear about when Jermaine Dupri stated what he stated about the church and how the influence of the church is not felt in today's music or today's R&B and singers? What I'm sorry if my screen is bugging right now. But, if the influence of the church is not felt in today's R&B in the singing of today, do y'all agree with that, or do y'all have any opinion on that as well?
That's brilliant. I never once thought of that, and I think he's dead on. Dead on. Yeah. I mean, I'll listen. That's my I agree with it. I think it's a really insightful thing to say.
Yeah, because he was on recently, and he did say that back in the day, and David Young has also mentioned it, that you had to play. And actually, Jay King said this a while back, that actually what is killing up music today is that people aren't playing their music. They're relying so much on programming, and that's taking away that natural skill of just creating, playing all this stuff. And you'd have to work harder. Back then, you couldn't correct a mistake. You had to get it just right. So now, and so you're pretty much, as you said, you're singing, learning, you're keeping the church, you're developing those incarnations. So if you think about Aaron Hall, he was singing, that's how he sang in church. So he's then taking that and bringing a unique style on a record of Big Bob. All these guys are bringing how they were performing in church to a live audience every week. Then you're putting on a record, it's the same environment. But now when you're not performing to a live audience and you can just get a backing track, you get found out. That's why people were afraid to go on the Apollo. You couldn't, you get found out, you get chased out. So Father MC he said the thing he was afraid of was the Apollo, because stars were getting booed. So you didn't bring your A game. And that's how it was in the church. You couldn't just go up there and just sing like, come on, there's 30 other people who could sing better than you waiting to take your spot.
Yes.
So yeah, it makes a massive difference when it just can be programmed, auto-tuned, and thrown out there. The first person who showed that they could do that was J-Lo. Tom Mottola was trying to get his own back on Mariah Carey. He said, well, let me get a pretty face and let me just make it a hit. So she's probably learning how to sing down the road, but back when she came out, it was all auto-tuned and stuff. She just was a dancer, and they just, and they actually, he got signed based on her lip singing Selena in the movie. They assumed she sang it live. And they put it in the studio, but luckily they had auto-tunes. And she has learned, like you could see with Milli Vanilli, to sing subsequently. But yeah, so it's made a massive difference. Auto-tunes killed the industry because it meant you didn't have to be great. You could just be mediocre. We can tune it up and correct it. So yeah. So
awesome.
Yeah, definitely appreciate you joining in and stuff. And
thank y'all again for having me.
Good evening.
No, thanks. Yeah. So I mean, guys, he made an interesting point about technology and stuff. And probably that's why we don't feel it the same way. I saw an interview with Timbaland, and he was saying we used to get $300,000 because they labels valued what we could bring out in an artist, but now producers are just giving away beats for free and just like, here's some beats and here's some beats. So it's nothing. So now the labels don't value the production as much because they can just get the beats, and it doesn't enhance. Hence, the argument of whether Quincy Jones, Michael would have been as big if he didn't have a Quincy Jones, because Quincy Jones knew how to get the best out of Michael and really hone his talent. That's what we miss with producers today, is that the producers today are like, they take the lead from the artist and give the artist what they want, as opposed to back in the day where Bobby hated Teddy because Teddy was was strict in the album. It's like, man, you need to sing this over and over again and get it right. and you start to realize. In fact, I've heard, who was it? It was Sprague. So Sprague, he worked with Teddy, and he did a lot of stuff on most of the albums. Talked about, yes, Teddy hated doing the vocals because he's really strict, and if an artist is not really getting, he can lose his patience. So he would just get his own, he gets others produced to do the vocal production because he was really strict about it, and he wanted it to sound a certain way, and if he doesn't get it, it can cause some friction. So yeah, if anyone else, I mean, just we've got a few more minutes and stuff. As anyone wants to join us, we've only had Red and D-Hawk, who's joined us. David, yeah, my co-host. David said he's under the weather, so he's not able to join in, come on live and stuff. But yes, what are your hopes for 2025, guys?
Well, let's hope this podcast continues and develops. And obviously, we started most of the year, half the year with Sheldon. I do miss him very much. Hopefully, he'll come back at some point in 2025. But we've now got Andrew, we've got VJ as well. Hopefully, they'll be joining us a lot more in 2025. So hopefully, it'll get stronger. The podcast will get stronger. We still got tons of stuff we can talk about. And obviously we can probably move away from 87, 92 into the 90s at some point, but we've still got lots to do, I think.
Yeah, I think there's always, because it's, as I said, it's very different when you do have not a script, but when you do have a focal point. So like tonight, we're just really kicking the breeze and stuff, but when you have a focal point, an album, a year, I think to think about a year in music and think, okay, 94, look at all the albums that came out, which was your favorite? I mean, it's just mind-boggling just to think about the level, the amount of albums that came out, which we took for granted. I didn't think, Home Again and Another Level dropping on the same day. Most places you don't release two big films on the same day, but it was almost like, we just, there's no other room, we might as well put them out on the same day. And I remember tracking, so Home Again debuted at #1, and then, but it slowly dropped. But then when No Diggity started to blow up, then Another Level got into the top 10, got to #1, and it stayed there, and it was constantly there. Well, Home Again just drifted because they didn't. They just didn't carry it on with more popular songs. So No Diggity blew up. Then Don't Leave Me, they didn't release it as a single in the UK, in the US. So it's just the video, and that meant that you had to buy the album. So that's the strategy. That was the strategy back then. I'm sure, did it come out as a single, Stevie, here in the UK? Don't Leave Me. Blackstreet.
New edition.
No, Blackstreet. No, Don't Leave
Me.
Yeah,
I'm sure it did. Did it? I can't remember. So
in the US, the strategy that they started to deploy back then was, don't release the single, release just so you just get the people buying the album. So that's when Another Level just went 4 million, 5 million, stuff like that. Then they really missed something. So that was the strategy back then. But just watching the contrast between New Edition and Blackstreet, and how Blackstreet just was going, because they were on the Tonight Show and stuff. And then, unfortunately, Bobby's antics really had this. So David said, they did release it. No, you couldn't get it in the US, but that's how the album blew up and stuff. So, just watching, so just reflecting on those years and stuff. Definitely amazing and stuff. Yes. I'm still hoping this one or two might still join us before we wrap up and stuff. Yes.
I like what Sartorius Robertson said about best female groups. Now, again, I'm a latecomer as far as to this podcast. I'm not sure if we already covered that, but I know one of the kind of eternal, no pun intended, arguments, if you will, would be like TLC versus SWV. And I feel like choosing either one, in my opinion, like I need to have like receipts and backup and like an argument to like stand up in a room and say why I'm choosing one. I feel like you have to have more receipts for, I think, TLC. I think a lot of people would consider it SWV the better, stronger group. But I'm not gonna lie, I kind of lean TLC, but then I just know that I have to come ready to defend myself. So that's just one example that we could talk about, maybe a TLC versus SWV show, or we could bring in the other groups like the En Vogues and like, gosh, who am I forgetting? Like Jean A, or like, oh my God, they said something, don't mean nothing. If it was like they had that big, anyways, it was 95. And then the other thing I want to jump in and say is 94, 95, even as I lived it, I felt like we were eating good. You know, felt like, you know, NJS had evolved into this hip hop soul moment. And I just felt like it was like, I just felt like New Jack Swing grown up. You know, I just felt like it was just a different, more serious, it was the keep it real era. And I just started, on the strength of the podcast, I started the New Jack Swing playlist on Apple Music, and I just started a hip hop soul one. And with both of my playlists, I actually focus on songs that I have not played the hell out of it. So you're not going to hear the obvious tracks. The first one actually is the If You Want It remix. It's a Bad Boy remix by Soul for Real, and I'm currently obsessed with it right now. But man, like everything you said, like I have like Southern Playlist at Cadillac, you know, from Outkast, because that's the one you don't really hear a lot these days. But that was like the second single. Man, those years, 94, 95, and I even consider 94, 95 different than 96, 97. I feel like 94, 95 was earthier and some more soulful, but then 96, 97 was a bit more poppy, and I almost call it like the jiggy era, because that's when like you had like the more bad boy like dance floor stuff, whereas the 94, 95 was slower and just more soulful, if that makes sense. But it's crazy how much diversity you had in music in just a 4-year period. But what a period to live through.
Yeah, let me see. So 96, if I look at some Maxwell Urban Suits and Tony Braxton's Secrets, 1 in a Million by Aaliyah, Donald Jones, My Heart, Another Level and Home Again, Tony Rich, As Yet, you had the Kenny Lattimore, Babyface, Genuine, The Bachelor, House of Music by Tony Turner, which I didn't know. I felt disappointed at the time. 112, to me, that's one of the best debut albums I've ever heard. Never skipped a beat on that album. Mint Condition, Definition of My Brand. Okay, yeah. 702, SWV New Beginning. Then this is, we're not even talking about the soundtracks, because that's another whole thing altogether. Mount Jordan Moore. He had Keith Sweat. You know, every 2 years he came out with an album. Jesse Powell. We had Drew Hill's debut album back then. We had Case coming out. Mission to Please by the Isley Brothers. There was just so much when you start to think about the years and how do you fit those albums in that short period of time and stuff. And as you said, I think those of us living through it at the time it took it for granted. I go to Best Buy, pick up the album and stuff. I remember working at Best Buy when in 96. This year I was working in Best Buy, and I used to, because I was in the music department, I could control what the customers hear when they walk in.
That's
so I'll keep playing the Another Level on repeat, so people can, and I'll stack it up and stuff, trying to sell how people sell the albums. I'm trying to promote the album so people could buy it and stuff.
You worked in Best Buy?
Yeah, the music department. So I was in the music department. Yeah, I was that June 96. Yeah, so when the album was out, I was there for, I felt like I was in heaven. I mean, I was the music department, because the motto of Best Buy was come in for a record and leave with a fridge. You know, they would sell the albums, I think like $9 or so cost, because you come in and you buy a laptop or buy a computer, TV or stuff. So that was heaven for me, just working there. Just seeing the stacks, seeing all the stuff coming in, calling up and saying, "Hey, we ran out of Another Level. Can you bring some more?"
who's that guy selling that Another Level album?
Yeah.
You know, the manager of Best Buy's like, wow, we sold a lot of Another Level albums this week. What's going on?
Yeah.
That would be funny if Interscope had some way of like understanding. Wait, there's like a lot of our records being sold out of this store. You know,
In
they actually
Milwaukee.
buy you in, like work A&R over there or work a radio promo.
Yeah, goodness. But the thing about it back then, though, but I will admit also was the fact that actually it wasn't just the R&B stuff. I was listening to No Doubt.
Sure.
I was listening to
Yeah.
Blink 187 or is it 180? Yeah,
182.
Yeah, 182. I was just all the music, even the Backstreet Boys. You know, all that time the music was it's almost like the 80s where you know some of the 80s and R&B music was somewhat interchangeable. And Donny Sims was talking about Elton John was played on black radio because there was such a similarity in vibe. I love that mid 90s. There was some synergy where you can listen to that and still, you know, you can play "I Want It That Way," you know, and everyone's singing it. You know, no one, you know, it wasn't. It felt like everything was acceptable for a moment in time. Then it went segregated again.
Yeah, Robin is someone I think about. I know she has like a different career now, but I know like the Swedish girl. It's like Max Martin and Dennis Pop. I want to say they did the Robin album, and "Show Me Love" was the biggest hit in the U.S. But the song I thought first heard was "Do You Know What It Takes?" I think is what it's called. And when I first heard it, I thought it was Brandy because I was listening in a car. It was her AM radio station. It was just kind of coming through the static. And I'm like, "Do you know what it takes?" I'm like, oh, okay, all right, you know. But anyhow, I know what you're saying, like, you know. And even like when I heard that song "Giving You Everything" by Spice Girls, I actually couldn't stand "Wannabe." I hated that song. But that second song, the single, like I was like, this has a bit of a okay, all right, like it had a bit of an R&B flow to it. So
yeah, and that's why NSYNC kind of did because it I won't say crossed over, but it was appreciated at the time. We could appreciate the music, and actually MTV back then. I remember Blackstreet going on MTV, so they were making it a lot more accessible. And
sorry. And also, and then of course Full Force actually wrote Backstreet's "All I Have to Give." So that song is a legit, like, it's an R&B song, like it really is. And I think they ate off that record, like they did good. But that was like, it was a legit Full Force written song. So
so that was definitely an era when it came to music where it was accessible to listen to Faith 1 minute and then Smash Mouth the next, and still not feel. And then I guess is when, you know, but that was still the East versus the West, you know, 96, you know, Biggie and Park and the whole Bad Boys and stuff. And that's when it got a little bit, you know, probably shifted slightly and stuff like that. But anyway, well, we're not getting many people on this time around, you know, which is just a little disappointing, but, you know, hey ho. We will have to come.
Maybe just a quiet period because obviously it's that period between Christmas and New Year now. But it's good to get an end of year wrap up anyway. Still here. We'll be coming strong next year as well.
Exactly. So one thing I want to say is I definitely have some big hopes and dreams and visions for 2025, and you know, being on this podcast I think is definitely part of like what even got me thinking this way. But the difference is, you know, instead of just saying what I think is going to happen, what I want to have happen, I just want to do it. You know, I want people just be going about their day and all of a sudden, boom, just see it appear. Like, that's what I want to do. Because I want to get back to that. Not to make everything an analogy, but I remember when Marvel first came out, the movies, like they didn't talk about, oh, we're going to do Thor, we're going to do Captain America. No. I just go to the theater to see Thor, then I see a shield in the case, and it's the Captain America shield. And then next to that case, I see a metallic A, and it's just for the Avengers film. Getting chills thinking about it. And it's like, there was no announcement. I just go and I see like coming soon. But it's like, that to me is, they're just going to do it. So all I'll say is this, and this is the only thing I'll say. Next year is the 20th anniversary of the first NJS4E party. I want to say it happened September of 2005. I cannot believe 20 years later,
wow,
we're here talking about this stuff. I love your face, Stevie, because yeah, absorb that. That's amazing. So all I can say is I'm not going to let this opportunity this year just come and go, but watch this space because we're just going to do it. And again, thank you for this podcast for existing. And thank you to everybody who's watching. If you're feeling unwell, hope you feel better. And may your 2025 also be as amazing as I am hoping it's going to be for us on this show.
Great.
For those who might just be joining in and thinking about NGS, NGS
Free.
I used to think
Yes, forever.
Yes.
Okay, but why is 3 if it's not 4? NGS forever.
Forever, yes. No, it's a 4. See?
Yeah. So why did you say 3?
No, I say NJS 4E. NJS.
Oh, 4E. Okay, yeah. I said 4. Okay, yes, for E. Yes. So, you've just mentioned that you're going to relaunch. Oh, I mean, because you started off saying that
if you go to njsforever.com, it's up. But let me tell you, before literally yesterday, if you went to that URL, it was like, this certificate is not valid. Go back to safety. Like the site was broken and it's been broken for like over a year. So finally yesterday, like between work, I just went ahead, dug into like the back end, like dusted off the dust and like put the wires back and the website is back. And then of course I took down Diddy and anyways, but now like, the website is back. There's still some more tweaks to be made, but at least it's turned on again. So that's, a little something. Turn on the lights.
Yeah, definitely. I don't know why is he going to be a taboo? Is he a taboo?
I mean, no, we can talk about him, sure. I mean, it's funny because I still think his impact on the culture. Hey, my thing mentally, everyone's gonna have their own thing. Mentally, everything up to like No Way Out is good. Like I will just still listen to like the 90s Diddy era, but like everything past it, like even Forever, like that's starting to get a little weird now. But before that, like, you can't deny what he did for the
Listen,
culture.
all anybody's going to be talking about in May next year when that court trial starts.
Man.
Anyway, everyone's going to be talking about it. So.
Yeah, but when I used to do polls on and include an R. Kelly track on there, it was like stone him. How dare you put him up there? So it was like, wow, it was hard because I'm like, well, if I'm showing you the big singles of that year. And he had, I Believe I Can Fly or whatnot. I wanted to put it, and people were saying how you couldn't put him up there. So it's, but somebody said, look, if a convict can be a president, a pedophile I can still listen to. I think it was, I don't know who it was, but somebody said, well, if someone who's convicted of fraud or so can be elected president, then I can dust out my R. Kelly tapes and listen to it again and stuff. So anyway,
one last thing for it. When we went to a concert, it was me and a couple other people in Miami, but it was a New Edition concert with Guy and everybody else. The DJ in the intermission dropped Your Body Is Calling, and let me tell you, the mood of the whole arena just shifted. And it just got quiet, and that DJ switched it up so fast. People were not having it. I remember even looking at these like, did he really just turn that on? And we're all looking at him crazy. Yeah, is not cool like right now. Like at least not in public. Right. They have to have that. It's a real. Yeah, man.
Oh goodness! Final word, Stevie, and then Andrew, and then we.
Well, I wish. Thank you all for watching, wherever you are. Thanks for watching throughout 2024. I wish you all the best, and we'll see you on the other side.
Yeah, Andrew?
Same, man. Same. You said it all, Stevie.
Yeah. And just for me, yeah. So, I mean, just to say that I think the last time we were on, we had somebody say, how come you don't get any female perspective? And then somebody reached out to me. Her name is Jay. And so yes, and so she's into she'll in the new year we'll we'll get a chance to get her on board to add a female perspective to things. She's out and she's been part of the Vert, like Mark Gordon and stuff, and so she's a massive Michael fan and a massive New Edition fan. So it'll be interesting just seeing between you and her, Andrew, who will go. Is going to be the biggest fan of them, but it's going to be interesting just to get some variety and some difference. And so, guys, we will hit you back up in the new year. We're just going to work out some of the things we're going to do. Then we'll put out the dates and the episodes. And but it's definitely been an honor for us to have you guys who continue to join us and watch. I know some of you guys have been on holidays and stuff, so understandable, but we'll definitely have a safe and happy new year, and we'll see you in 2025. Take care, guys.